So 160 Studios in Delray Beach, I've got a treat for you today, girls and boys across the spectrum. Santosh, thanks for coming in.
Very nice to meet you, Joe.
Yeah.
Good to connect again.
Yeah, so Santosh and I have been together many years. He was a protege coming up. I've watched his career very closely over the years. There's a couple out of HBS that have done massive things early in their careers in medtech, and Santosh is one of them. And he had called me a couple weeks ago to tell me about this Moonshot program he's got going on. And I could not have gotten him in here to this studio quicker. So, my friend, tell us about Moonshot, tell us about the catalyst, and before you go too deep, let's also talk about your background.
For sure, yeah. So Moonshot is really about empowering the next generation of healthcare innovators to solve the world's biggest problems using a combination of medical technology, biotech, and AI, right? We really want to be disease-focused, and it's about empowering that younger generation to enjoy and participate in what we are all a part of,
yeah.
right? And the catalyst for this was actually a personal experience of mine, why I got into sort of medical devices. I wanted to do engineering. I love robotics, but didn't really understand my purpose or why I was doing it. There was a Johns Hopkins neurosurgeon back in 2003 that built back then a prototype surgical robot to do brain surgery. I built a Lego robot to replicate that, went to a science fair, won it, and I was like, all right, I want to commit myself to biomedical engineering, surgical robotics. So Moonshot is about paying that forward, getting the next generation of kids involved, and then sort of creating those future innovators who are going to be those world-class leaders.
Yeah. And so let's do your background for a little bit so we can have a baseline for our audience for those that don't know you.
Sure, yeah. So my background, I'm Canadian. Went to University of Toronto for my undergrad and master's in biomedical engineering, engineering sciences, and then pretty much dedicated my career to surgical robotics in a technical role. So worked at, Vitronis, which is now part of J&J, Intuitive Surgical, Petrera Medical, and then now more recently at Active Surgical. So it's been a really exciting journey sort of coming from the technical role. I went to, did my MBA at Harvard to sort of get more of the business background and really understand the what and the why behind sort of the technical piece. I really enjoy talking to customers, talking to surgeons. So at Active, it's been really great to sort of combine everything together. And yeah, that's where I am today.
Yeah, and you and I chatted, it just reminded me, I think it was when you were considering going for your MBA at Harvard, you and I chatted at that time, and you asked me, would it be good? And so pre-decision and post-decision, what did you pull out of that?
It was good. It was absolutely worth it. So pre-decision, I was like, I think want to kind of explore roles in product and sort of take that technical expertise and apply it to a business context. That's what I would have done regardless. The MBA at Harvard has really been an accelerator, and it's sort of broadened my horizon, right? Because running a business is not just about marketing, it's not just about R&D, it's sort of all these functions. So I think Harvard really sort of gave me that holistic perspective on what it is to actually run and sort of accelerate a business, and it sort of broadened my horizon. And that's sort of been really great because I've been able to wear a lot of hats post-MBA as well.
Yeah. And it broadens your network as well.
Right.
I mean, it's probably one of the best
right.
networks, Harvard, UPenn, Stanford, Hopkins,
right.
but it's that network you get into as well.
Absolutely.
So tell me about the program at Harvard. Tell me what the specifics of it. And then how can our med tech companies, partners, et cetera, support this effort, which is so critical to the next gen? Because one of the things that I see happening way too often is the brightest minds in high school, let alone university, don't even know about the medtech industry and the profoundness and the karma, the good karma and the importance that goes with it. Because a lot of times, whether it's diversity candidates, whether it's just the smartest people, don't even know what we do in university. And they go after the cool headline job. They'll go after Facebook. They'll go after PepsiCo. They'll go after, right? And until something happens in their life later, and they're like, wait a minute, there's something more important than keeping somebody on a browser for 42 more seconds. And gosh, I wish I would have known about medtech earlier.
Absolutely. Yeah, so the program at Harvard is very simple. We're sort of exposing them to the design process, right? The healthcare design process, the development process. And over 2 weeks this summer, students from all around the world are going to come in and be able to prototype a solution to diagnose and treat early stage lung cancer. Not just individually diagnose, not just individually treat, both. Because that's the unmet need, right? The 5-year survival rate, as all of you know, is not very high, and that's because of the gap, right? So These kids are going to build functional, not theoretical, functional solutions using Lego, computer, software, AI, and incorporate principles of a biotech and actually showcase solutions to a panel of industry experts, surgeons from Harvard and from the industry. And what that's really going to do is sort of open their eyes to moonshot thinking. So they're going to be able to really expand beyond the sort of current paradigm and sort of think further. And this is awesome because at that age, those students are not biased the same way the rest of us are. They don't know what's been done. They don't know what good looks like. So we really get them to unleash their creativity and truly think outside the box. And that's the kind of thinking we want them to use to carry forward, right? And to your point about broadening horizons, that brilliant mind now who comes through this program is going to say, geez, you know, I'm probably going to use that expertise and interest in AI to solve this because this is going to help people. And that's going to really sort of, I think, ground them and give them that purpose. A reason a lot of us are in healthcare, medtech specifically, is because that purpose guides us. And I think for me, that's ultimately what this is about.
Yeah. So when you hear Lego and you hear technology, you're like, oh, cute, you know.
Right.
But I will tell you, you know, we demoed the piece and you showed it to me. You got working channels in there. You got working channels on endoscope drug delivery, introduction to tools. So this is not some, you know, 64-piece X-wing fighter put it together with an instruction. How did you come up with this?
Yeah, so for me, it was really about bringing in medical realism, right? You know, I've been in companies where we've used this actual instrumentation. I wanted them to play, experiment, and use the real thing. It was all about bringing that realism that we all are used to seeing with like actual patients, with animal models, and bringing it to the desktop, right? Bringing it to the classroom bench, if you will, from like the patient bed to the classroom bench. So, you know, my experience in this space, and you know, obviously a lot of yours as well, it's about taking that and then bringing it in a platform where they can actually see and feel it. And I'll tell you, like, the students who see this are blown away because I think conceptually a lot of kids at that age don't really have access to things like this, right? But because of the sort of reduction in manufacturing costs, access to these things, camera costs coming down, like that's why something like Moonshot is possible now. Even 10 years ago was not, right? So technology, like cost, has made opportunities and programs like this more accessible. So that's basically it.
So how did you pitch this to Harvard? I mean, obviously you're an alumnus, and there's a lot of friends that you and I have are pretty influential alumnus within Harvard. You know, Hunnikins and Stebbins and the others. So how did you get this introduced in the first place?
Yeah, so you know, there's a group there called HMS Med Science. It's actually started with Harvard Medical School faculty, and they're physicians that are used to teaching world-class medical education, you know, that doctors, you know, at Harvard practice for high school students. And I approached them and said, hey, look, you are a phenomenal medical institution. You teach world-class medical knowledge, biology, anatomy, physiology. But where's the engineering? Because these days, medicine doesn't live in isolation. And I can speak from personal experience because medtech lives at that intersection. So where is that engineering? And you know what? Julie, who was sort of the program director there, said, you're right. There's a gap. There's a gap in STEM education in our program. We need to bring in the math and engineering. And so Moonshot is the perfect way to bridge that gap. And we don't just want to teach, you know, robots moving in a maze. We want to take STEM and apply in the real life applications that we teach students there. So it was a perfect hand in glove you know, hand in glove kind of fit. Right place at the right time, I guess. You know, I was lucky enough to find that person. Obviously, you know, being at HBS, I think made that introduction easier. I'm not going to lie, right? But yeah, it was a very good sort of point in time where we were able to converge. And then obviously my relationships to the medtech industry, I think, made things easier for them because that's a gap for them. They're like, look, we're in Boston. We know all these amazing companies doing all these amazing things, but we don't know how to involve these people. We don't know how to work with them. It's almost like they live in a different island. So we need something that can bridge that gap. Yeah. So they were very excited.
Yeah. And so if I'm a large medtech player or even a mid-cap player, and if I'm a Boston side because I make tools that go down the channel, if I'm in a visualization, I'm at a Storz or a Fuji or an Olympus, how can I help? What can I do to say, yeah, I need that pipeline filled with future interns, future employees, and let's get more people into medtech earlier in their high school careers? What can they do to help? What can they donate? What could they write a check to? What kind of devices can they potentially contribute?
So that's a 4 millimeter working channel. So any endoscopic instrument fits through there, right? So today we're targeting lung cancer, but we want to look at applications in urology, in GI, right, and all over the place. So there's all these wonderful companies doing all these amazing things. I'm trying to think about these clinical applications, but these companies are the experts. So helping me with sort of those clinical applications, giving me the instrumentation, giving me those sort of judges and mentors to help students with understanding the value of the program, number one, right? So there's the mentors, there's the instrumentation, and number three is I think those internships. So I think a lot of ways you sort of close the circle and really get that pipeline sort of solidified is by enabling these students to be in your companies actually being part of the device development itself, right? Because they've gotten a primer that probably not a lot of people in the world at that age have. So it's about really those three things. And the more people involved, the better it's going to be for the ecosystem overall.
So because there's going to be a line outside the door as soon as I release this to the public,
Right.
how many students are you going to take on this summer? And are you already full? And how do they apply?
Right, so we were pretty selective this year because for us it was not a numbers game. It's really about the quality and making sure that students got the most experience, right? These Harvard instructors really focus on quality. I think that's number one. We want that experience to be incredible. So we have 15 students already selected from around the world. I'm talking like England, Vietnam, Korea, so all over. Bright students. We are planning to expand through the fall, through the spring, and it's not just going to be a summer program. There's going to be other variants of it. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities for students and companies to get involved. And to apply, you would have to go to the HMS MedScience website where the Moonshot program will be there. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity to participate in this. The summer is not going to be the only time, but we really want to make sure that the first time we come out with this, the quality is exceptional. And we want those students to be sort of the ambassadors of the program. So we're trying to set them up for success.
So because I'm a headhunter, what I'd do is I'd have them sign as your agent. You should be their agent moving forward because you're already saying, okay, we're going to select you to come in with broad thinking, no cognitive entrenchment on board already. And then they're going to go back to their country, right? Or wherever they are, their state. And we want to track those people longitudinally and see what they do. I think that's really critical. You've probably thought about this already, but where do they go from here?
I mean, you should, if I showed you what they wrote in their essays, you're going to be blown away. I mean, what they've already done before coming here, this was not an easy choice. Okay, they're coming to Harvard for the summer. I mean, this is not an easy choice for someone like me or the med science staff when we were picking these students. I know they're going to be exceptional, right? They're all interested in some form of something medically intersecting.
So they don't have to be robotics people coming in, right?
No, we actually try to go more diverse. I mean, there's kids completely on robotics, more on the science side. There's some people who've done first robotics. Great. We want that diversity because that's going to enable those solutions to be better. I'll add one more thing, Joe. So, I'd done a version of this about 10 years ago when I was in Toronto, very, very small prototype for brain surgery. The best thing, there were 2 students that went through that program. One of them is, talking about full circle, one of them is a Harvard MBA student right now who did also a Harvard undergrad in a science space. I'm not going to call her up by name, but that's one. And another student is a computer vision engineer at Tesla. So that, and that was 10 years ago before it was even fully refined. Yeah. So just to give you a flavor of the kind of kids that are coming out of this, that there's more to come there.
Yeah, awesome. So if somebody wants to reach out, they'll go to the Harvard website, the medical science. Is that
HMS MedScience, yep.
Okay, HMS MedScience. And then how about the strategics? Can we put some information on screen here, either reach out to you directly? What's the best pathway for that? Because, we've got so many viewers, 150,000 sets of eyes on us every day. How do they reach out and say, how can I help, Santosh?
Email me directly, so santosh@moonshot.school.
Okay. Oh, you got your own Moonshot.school. Of course you did.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
What didn't I ask you that we should talk about today as well?
Honestly, I think you covered it, Joe. I think, again, just to tie this back into the why, right? Like I said, I don't have to do this, right? But to me, this is about sort of looking for the sort of, I think a lot of us look ahead a lot, but not a lot of us look behind in terms of, to your point, how to widen the funnel. And I just want to reemphasize that we have to think about cultivating that talent because we all know right now in the medical space, there's going to be a skills shortage. The cost of healthcare is going up. This problem is not going to solve itself. As smart as we are right now, we need to think a little bit more strategically and think a little bit more ahead. So for me, broadly, that's what Moonshot is really doing at a society level, right? Is to make sure that we have the right set of people at the right place at the right time to solve the problems of today and the future.
Yeah, that's a really insightful thought, and you're exactly right. A lot of times we do look forward, but we're worrying about filling that gap behind us and having these, mentors like yourself. And you're not too far off where you were 10 years ago, right? So, I mean, you started when did you graduate with your undergrad?
2010, and then I did my master's, graduated 2012. So
Right.
I guess
So
I'm dating myself a little bit now.
Right. You're still fresh though. You're
Right.
still coming around the first turn. And
Right.
That's what they need to see, right? They don't need to see some old dudes like me. They need to see, young beasts like yourself.
Right, and it's cool because someone like myself, I got to sort of see both spectrums, and I'm sort of, I think, positioned well in my career where I can sort of converse with both and sort of pull others along.
And you've been fortunate too. I didn't know who you worked with at Intuitive, but you were with Joe Urban at Potrero, Todd Usen over at Active, and the group over there, Tom and everybody else over there are really generous people, and that's what you're doing right now is giving you
Absolutely. They're wonderful people, right? Could not ask for anything more. And yeah, I think that culture of just those people is why I'm in the medtech industry, by the way, because that innovation, that sort of support, that help is a big part of what motivates me, and I just want to kind of spread it, pay it forward.
Nice, well done. Well, we'll be watching this closely, and then what are the dates in the summer? Do you have them?
July 24th to August 4th. It'll be at Harvard Medical School campus.
So we're going to have to get up there and get some coverage of it as well, for sure.
Right.
Because I got to get my candidates of the future teed up.
You do? It's right there, Joe. I don't know what more you want me to do. I'm literally giving to you.
I'm going to be collecting resumes as they come in.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
We'll have a team there. Thanks for
Yeah, thanks,
always,
Joe.
always
a
impressed
pleasure.
me.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
I'm Joe Mullings from 160 Studios. Be well.